What's new with Kubernetes 1.34? Hello everyone and welcome to this video in which we're going to take a look at the sneak peek document Kubernetes recently released regarding version 1.34 to come at the end of August 2025. We'll start by saying that there's no deprecation, no breaking change in this version, and we'll start with the first feature. The first feature is DRA targeting stable. So what is stable? So in Kubernetes features, we have alpha, and then we have beta, and then we have stable. Okay, so when we create a feature, we release it first in alpha and it's disabled by default. Then it graduates to beta, and finally we release it as a stable. That's what the Kubernetes community does with features. So the DRA. So what is the DRA? DRA is a bit like dynamic provisioning for storage volumes, but for other devices such as GPUs and other hardware devices on your cluster. So we have, for example, let's take a look at let's say you have this beautiful piece of GPU, okay, the 3090. So DRA will basically let you abstract this GPU and create a class for it. And from there, your pods will be able to claim part of this GPU by claiming the classes and all the resources you would have created with this cool feature. It's a very cool feature, especially at the age of AI, where GPUs and things like that are very demanded. Okay, and the second feature is service account tokens for image pool authentication. So currently, in order to pull image, we create image pool secret. Okay, we create a secret of type docker config JSON, and from there we call it in our pod to pull the images. The problem with that is that the secret is long-lived. Okay, so the secret just sits in our cluster and there's no rotation. And this feature allows to use service account tokens for pulling images and in image authentication. So we're gonna have rotation. It's gonna enable rotation of secrets. The third feature touches something important in Kubernetes pods, and the deployment. And this feature is, I think, graduating to beta. It was introduced, it was introduced in the previous version as alpha. And what this is about is basically how new pods should come to life when there's a change in the deployment. So to remind you, when you change the deployment, you have, along with the old replica sets of this deployment, a new replica set. Okay, so when you modify a deployment, you create a new replica set, and the pods of this replica set are directly, by default, created as soon as the old ones start terminating. So start getting in the state terminating, but they're still using the resource. Okay. So this default behavior can cost potential higher resource consumption, and also some applications do not allow multiple pods to run together. So the pod that will be in starting status, will actually fail because there's another pod already running in terminating pod. So that can create some problem. So users have proposed to have another strategy, and it's called termination complete. And in this strategy, if this strategy is chosen, then the Kubernetes will wait for the old pod to fully terminate before creating the new ones. The fourth feature is about tracing for kubelet and API server. So for the Kubernetes operators among us, if you guys already debugged node level issues, then you might have figured out that it's pretty hard, as it says. So hopefully this feature I think is starting stable. Yeah, it is going to stable, and the whole point behind this feature is to make it easier, and to have a better visualization of the life cycle of events that can take on the kubelet and the API server. Okay, so it's implementing the Open Telemetry standard and other cool stuff they're talking about here. Okay, the fifth feature is about services and how traffic is distributed. So, as we've said in the previous video, a service is an interface in front of our pods, okay, and it also acts as a load balancer. This feature comes and asks how the service should distribute the traffic to the pods. And if the traffic distribution is set to prefer same zone, and we say that we have this client pod that is sending a request to the service targeting those three pods, backend 0, 1, and 2. And we have two nodes. Those two nodes are on US East 1A, and we have a third node that is on US East 1C. So if prefer same zone is enabled, then the request might be forwarded to this pod or to this pod. Why? Because those two pods are on the same zone, and the request is forwarded to the same zone, the pods living on the same zone as the client. But if it prefers same node, then in that case the request will be forwarded only to this pod, because in that case we're saying that the request should not leave the node. The sixth feature is about a new dialect called KML, introduced by Kubernetes. I haven't really seen this dialect, but from 1.34 on, you will be able to output your kubectl commands with this dialect by doing -o KML. And as they say, it will be less be used than YAML. Anything that can make Kubernetes clearer is obviously welcome. And the last but not least final feature is about auto-scaling control for HPA. Okay, so in order to explain that, I will go to the HPA documentation and then I go to the tolerance field. So this field was introduced as alpha in 1.33 and it's not enabled. So let's assume you've defined a target memory consumption of 100 MB for your deployment. So the tolerance field will let you add some room on top of this threshold. So let's say this is my current memory consumption, and let's say it's increasing, it's slowly increasing, and here I pass the threshold of the target memory consumption. So what should it do? If you've defined the tolerance to 5%, then here it won't do anything until I pass also those 5%, so 100 MB plus 5%, so 105 MB. By default, the tolerance is 10%. So here, if I set this tolerance, I'm actually gonna be more responsive to scaling, and this tolerance can also be added for scale down. Okay, so it's not just for scale up; it can also define for scale down. So that's all for this sneak peek of Kubernetes version 1.34. I'm personally looking forward to using this version. It's clear that Kubernetes is actively addressing today's challenges, whether it's by making AI tools more accessible and easier to configure via the DRA stability, or whether it's by improving computing efficiency. So thank you for watching this video, and hope seeing you in the next video.